We're going to have a Warcraft RPG game. I'm not talking about World of Warcraft, and I'm not talking about Warcraft 4, but a story-driven RPG with Souls-like mechanics. Grab your axe and spellbook because we are exploring all the hints and leaks that will lead to a Warcraft role-playing game. As part of the earlier interview we covered before, and that's the post-Blizzcon IGN interview with Holly Longdale and John Hight, we know Warcraft is about to branch out. Since we already talked about the Netflix series, let's talk about the future of Warcraft, and we are going to start it off with John Hight's statement on the topic.
We have a full greenlight process for Warcraft. It's a big reason why, Chris is back. We wanted him to, be kind of the arbiter of this is in, this is out.
After BlizzCon ended, we realized that Warcraft is going to be more than just World of Warcraft, the successor of Warcraft 3. Although Hearthstone is based on the Warcraft universe, it's kind of treated like a spin-off of Warcraft. And as I am writing this script, I keep coming back to the way I phrased this and trying to correct myself by changing the Warcraft universe statement into World of Warcraft. But I can't, because it would be wrong. Hearthstone took elements out of Warcraft 3 and older Warcraft games, so it isn't just about World of Warcraft anymore. With the new Warcraft game that was released prior to BlizzCon, Warcraft Rumble, you could also say that this is a spin-off of World of Warcraft. But once again, it's not just World of Warcraft. For instance, the Banshee minion, although a character present in WoW, it actually functions like the Warcraft 3 Banshee caster, where you can use it to steal an enemy unit. While the mechanic will not work against you as the player in WoW for obvious reasons, the fact that it functions like the Warcraft 3 version shows that the inspiration for any Warcraft game Blizzard will make can extend to outside of World of Warcraft. This is a bit of a stretch, but still makes the point that when creating the Rumble game, they didn't just copy-pasta World of Warcraft characters, but instead borrowed from the whole Warcraft universe. And this way of describing our beloved IP will start to become more and more common with the future developing years of the new Blizzard under the Microsoft umbrella. That's essentially what the "we have a full green light process for Warcraft" means. The plan to expand to different gaming genres has already started, and this wouldn't be something new. Neither is our Patreon, but it still is supporting our content. Check out patreon.com/Marcelian Online if you like this style of content and consider hopping on board the Marcelian Online team. You'll be supporting our content, of course, but also have access to some exclusive goodies like early access videos and custom 4K wallpapers with your character's transmog. We would also be eternally grateful and happy to have you in the Marcelian Online fam. Where were we? Warcraft as a world is based a lot on Tolkien fantasy, and subsequently, the StarCraft universe was based on the Warhammer 40k universe. Now, if you are unfamiliar with the Warhammer 40k, you will be less so in the coming years, what with Games Workshop signing a contract with Amazon Studios thanks in no small part to Henry Cavill's public push towards this end. Now, Warhammer is also a vast universe spanning dozens of games and is the closest franchise we have to Blizzard's StarCraft, while the Warhammer Fantasy universe can be considered to be the Warcraft version of that. Now, all of this is not as important as the fact that the Warhammer games spawned RTS titles with Dawn of War and Total War, not unlike Warcraft, created an MMO game in Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning, again, not unlike Warcraft, and also dabbled into multiple role-playing games. Once again, this stands as a precedent for big IPs to diversify, and we already are seeing this from Blizzard's Warcraft team. Although we made this point before, it's even more relevant now, relevant to the company's open-mindedness when it comes to spreading the Warcraft IP far and wide. And that is probably classic WoW. Likely influenced by old-school RuneScape, this isn't surprising since the Blizzard devs are also known for taking a good formula and making it better. Usually. I mean, Overwatch won Game of the Year in 2016, and it was closely copying Team Fortress 2. The popularity of classic WoW boomed, then rollercoastered the following years, and with it the devs have taken more unusual liberties with working on WoW by adding hardcore WoW and Seasons of Discovery. If anything, this speaks volumes of their openness to expand the World of Warcraft game as much as possible, straying little by little from their original MMO formula. With Chris Metzen on board, they now have what they need to keep the world building and story between franchises cohesive. To add to this, John Hight went on to say,
how do we signal to the world that, Warcraft is a universe, 240 million strong, and we're going to grow from there. And we are going to branch into other things. What do our players want? What are the genres that are cool to them? What are the platforms that are cool to them?
Well, in the late 90s, just as the popularity of the adventure games genre reached its peak, Blizzard planned to release, but ended up cancelling, Warcraft Adventures: Lord of the Clans. This was a totally different genre of gaming that they attempted right after the success of Warcraft 2. Since the title was cancelled, it was later made into the Lord of the Clans book and also integrated and inspired the Warcraft 3 stories, later influencing World of Warcraft as well. The adventure genre was a popular one at the time, and the team was up to expand in that area as well to push Warcraft to different types of gamers. And with that, we come to today. What are the genres that are cool to them? Hight asked. This is once again talking about a Warcraft universe and other gaming genres that people like to play. I wonder what other gaming genres are popular.
And the game of the year is Baldur's Gate 3.
The Last of Us Part 2.
Elden Ring.
Outside of the game It Takes Two, since Overwatch 1 Game of the Year in 2016, we have had only RPG titles win every single year. Big RPG titles like Elden Ring, God of War, Breath of the Wild, and let's not forget Baldur's Gate 3. The RPG titles have been smoking the entire gaming industry for the past decade, and we aren't talking just about Game of the Year winners here. Suffice to say, to answer John Hight's question of what other genres are cool to us gamers, it's RPGs, dude, RPGs! Although WoW is an MMORPG, I make my stand when I say that the bigger reason it garnered its success was for the RPG element. If anything, the RPG element is what's keeping it alive as we speak. The MMO systems and qualities of the game have been dying since 2008 or whenever they introduced LFG in Wrath of the Lich King. But creating, customizing, and leveling a character is the core identity of WoW. Whether it is the old school leveling that people can't seem to get enough of in Classic, or the power grinding character endgame development of retail WoW, the core player base still enjoys the IP, and I would bet that an actual RPG addition to the Warcraft universe would change the Blizzard gaming world entirely. And where do we go from here? In terms of the stories they can approach for an RPG, the options are endless. The world of Warcraft has expanded so much that there is literally no shortage of stories they can tell through a separate game. We can explore Anduin's journey from his Shadowlands position to whatever will happen in War Within, or take a no-name champion on a mission to chase down Iridikron across the Warcraft multiverse. And that's all fine and dandy, but how will the game play out? Well, in my opinion, Blizzard has two main options. They can take the tactical route of Baldur's Gate 3, Divinity Original Sin, or any other tactical RPG and employ their actual smart design of combat systems. However, I think this is less likely than actually featuring a proper action-based combat system, something similar to the Souls-like games. At this point, pretty much all fantasy RPG games, and not only, that come out have a version of swing your sword and hope it hits the enemy, dodge or parry the enemy's hit, counter with your move, and then just build upon this system with more skills. The Souls-like combat has been used by most if not all modern RPG games, from games like Witcher 3 to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And we already know that Blizzard is really good at designing combat mechanics considering how WoW plays today. And this isn't a sarcastic comment. I don't think people realize how polished and well designed the combat is despite it being an archaic system of tab targeting. The fluidity of the animations, the response of your inputs, and how your character portrays those actions in-game is so crisp that people just take it for granted. I'm not saying it's the best, although it may be in its subgenre, or even perfect, but I have played a bunch of other MMOs and a bunch of other action RPGs, and I can count on one hand how many games do it better, and I don't even need to use all my fingers. That, in my book, is an impressive feat considering the game is 20 years old and considering the ups and downs the developers have been going through over the last couple of years, likely a decade from the rumors. Blizzard has also been known to take a successful model and make it theirs, and it wouldn't be entirely surprising to see them come up with their own combat system inspired by what's on the market today. Imagine an Elder Scrolls game where you get to actually customize your orc warrior and you actually go out and adventure single player style. Another benefit of this happening is they can experiment with different graphical engines. I doubt they will stray too far from the cartoony art style, although with the advent of gritty and dark RPGs lately, I wouldn't be entirely surprised if they make that leap. But a classical high fantasy RPG where we explore castles and dungeons, loot legendary axes and staves, cast massive pyroblasts to save towns, is essentially the grounded role-playing experience that players have been asking for. Yes, the people want this. Look how popular Classic is, even if just for a month at a time. The cosmic setting is not appealing to the majority of the player base. But maybe that's not the issue, and the issue is the way you are immersed in that setting. If they let me make my undead rogue and set me on an epic quest across the void to spy on and figure out what Iridikron is doing on planet X, I would play that shit yesterday. It can be an undead rogue, it can also be an orc blade master or a human bard. We can actually have the classes we have been asking for years. It's difficult to add more to WoW on top of the 39 existing specs. Look how hard it is to keep augmentation in check. But that's not going to be the case for a single player RPG. That might finally get us the Goblin and Gnome Tinker class we have been wanting at least since BFA, when Mechatork was a boss in a raid. An RPG that will be cross-platform because, you know, it will. An RPG that can be played on Xbox and may even be Xbox exclusive at launch because, you know, Microsoft did actually buy Blizzard. Wouldn't an exclusive RPG title sound like the perfect magnet for the players into the franchise? Because Warcraft is, after all, at a crossroads. You may choose to believe it or not, but through our own biases as content creators, we have been through WoW's development stages since Legion, even earlier for Marcelian, until today. And let me tell you, WoW is not the same. The devs are not the same, and the future is not the same, since the future will also be a Netflix series. Haha! You bet your sweet tushy it will be. Click the damn video and check it out for yourselves, because the future is bright, the future is Warcraft, and my batch of copium is delicious.